gripping her head. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted on my head. What's happening, y'all? This is your man Spirulline. Welcome to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. Yeah, I hope you've been enjoying the music. And make sure you check out my music. Yeah, on your favorite music platform, right? It's right there on the screen for you. Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube. You name it, it's there. It is there, right? Let me put on some mood music here so we can get into the flow here of today's show. Yeah, we got a good one today. We got a good one every week, but today, I want to go into some more personalized content, right? Because Daddy's Right Here, does more than just videos. I started a nonprofit, in Philly. Daddy's Right Here seeks to decrease father absenteeism. And we do that in many ways, providing classes on fatherhood, providing lectures, workshops, seminars to direct care service providers, community members, and families, right? Because you got caretakers, you have people who used to quite often, play a significant role in the building of the family. But if you say daddy's right here, that implies that there's a mother. So, services are just not provided to the daddy. Mothers are welcome. The focus is on aiding fathers in becoming physically and emotionally available to the lives of their children, right? That's important because what you hear about all the time regards the physical absence of a father, right? That's all, because that benefits the state. Right? If you remember the movie Claudine, where the social worker was coming to the house and she had to hide all evidence of a man living in that house. All evidence of a man living in that house. So the mother became dependent upon the state to take care of the family. Yeah. She was offered more than what the father, believed to be, incapable of being able to provide. Therefore, she would get the cash, she would get the stamps, and she would get health care benefits. All the things that when you don't rely and depend upon the government, right, to provide for you, is typically provided by the father, right? You want somebody's insurance, yada, 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 all those things, right? So, it's no secret about the role of government in the family. And it's any family. It's not just a black family. It's any family, right? That this happens. And it continues to happen even today. Tax credits, right? We start looking at tax credits and how you get a whole lot of money, for your dependents, right? That's by design. It's by design. This is why abortion rights is another thing that's part of the narrative, right? It's illegal now. It's against the law in most states, right? Because, we are producers. America is a corporation. We are producers, right? Labor. That's labor. All the money that we think we make. We seek to get these high salaries, and all the money we make is given right back. When you see your check, you find out, okay, well, this is what, I'm paid. This is what I earn. And when you look at it, it's not what you get. Then you got to give more to the IRS. Then you pay taxes on all of your non-food products, and everything is tax, 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 tax. So you're always giving away your hard-earned money, but let you be physically absent from the life of your child, and you will be jailed, right? Because you don't have the ability, because the government has infinite streaming of money. Therefore, you can become unemployed, but the government's willing to step in and help, all at a cost, right? So when you start looking at all these things, these are the things that we talk about in our classes, in our workshops, in our seminars, because the only information you're going to get, from media in most cases is the superficial stuff. Even fatherhood classes. I don't believe that there's anybody out there that can provide a better structured classroom environment, a better learning environment than Daddy's right here. Because most people can't connect the dots for people who are attending these activities. They can't. They're staying at a superficial level. Therefore, we keep having superficial outcomes to the problem. Father absenteeism is a problem. It's a problem. And I think we've already understood that part in terms of the physical absence. But there's another part of that absence that does not get talked about, right? I'm flowing a little bit too much here. Where's my coffee? Here we go. Now the flow really starts. This is I like to grind my beans. So I got some ground beans. I grinded up some Starbucks espresso beans, and I mixed it with one of my favorite other coffees. And man, one of these here, boy, you be going on for a while. So let's go back, all the way back, right? As children, girls and boys are groomed much differently, right? Boys are groomed to be strong, protectors, domineering, aggressive, right? Little girls are groomed to be wives, mothers, right? And in some cases, young ladies. A lot of that is going away of these days, and again, superficial, right? So when little girls sit down and play with their doll babies, they are doing things that they have been conditioned to believe by the caretaker, and things that are innate, things that are within themselves as far as the maternal instinct. See, we don't get any connection with paternal. Little girls get that understanding of maternal responsibilities right from the beginning. So when they're playing with their dolls, they're having tea and they're serving and this, that, they're doing all of these things, but they're doing all of these things independent of a male. Think about it. If you are in my age bracket, if you're like between 50, if you're over 50, you have an understanding of what I'm talking about. Little girls were playing with their dolls. And the little dolls, they were getting dressed up, putting on makeup, perfume, all these kind of things, and they were serving one another. So there's this sorority of a sort that they begin to do early on. So they have those kind of relationships where they fix each other's hair, they do this and they do that, and they do all of these things, these femme things. Little boys are given trucks, dinosaurs, army men, guns, right? I want you to look at this because I'm going in. So when a little boy sits with his sister while she's playing with her dolls, doing tea and all this stuff, the little boy is chastised. The little boy is chastised. Those are your sister's toys. Boys don't play with dolls. But there weren't specifics there because I had G.I. Joes. What's a G.I. Joe? G.I. Joe was a doll, but we call them action figures. Because again, the mindset is aggression. The mindset is protect. Right? That's the mindset. Trucks, big trucks. These big trucks, the Tonka trucks. You remember the Tonka trucks, big yellow trucks, right? We used to get them. They used to have all the different ones, the Caterpillar, the tow truck. We used to have all these big trucks. And we would take it and we would ram it into things. But they had to be big trucks. And racing cars. So again, racing implies aggression because you can't race passively and win because it's all about winning. It's all about winning. It's always about the competitive edge, being stronger than, faster than, right? But this little boy is playing with his sister. He doesn't conceptualize what you have within your own mind because this is where the conditioning begins, right? He's having fun with his sister. And in the same instance, he's learning about little girls. He's learning about the sensitivity of the little girl. He's learning about the emotional aspects of the little girl. We take that away from him and tell him, no, you don't do that. And we call him names, right? It was a long time before Ken got introduced into the whole Barbie collection. A long time. So that means most of that time, little girls were playing with their dolls and they were having little babies and stuff to play with, and they were raising babies already. They already knew how to coddle it, how to wrap the baby up, how to change the diaper, feed the bottle. They were doing all of those things. Little boys couldn't participate in any of that. Little boys couldn't hold the baby. Just think for a minute if that was different. Just think for a minute if the little boy was allowed to play with his sister. And his sister was doing all of these things and, you know, cleaning up the kitchen and doing all these things. Just a little Susie bake oven and all those kind of things. And all the things that she was doing, he was participating in that. He was learning how to set the table. He was learning how to clean up the kitchen. He was learning how to do all these things as a partner. Right? She was having the experience of a partner. This is what this looks like when we work together. This is what we do. When you look at the anatomy of the dolls, right? You look at the anatomy, you pull Barbie's dress up, and she's got a mound. No slit, a mound, right? When you took off Ken's clothes, what did Ken have? A mound. So there was no distinction other than the anatomical figure itself. But when it came to taking the clothes off, the anatomy looked the same. I mean, just think if he had testicles in the head, where that mound was, what that would look like. And how many parents would actually have bought Ken? And the same happened for all the other dolls along the way. I just jumped out of the shower. My eyes are, keep wiping my eyes. It's not sleep. I've been up. I just had to get showered for y'all, put a little bit of oil on, you know what I'm saying? Can't come all musky and stuff. But anywho, so when you look at that stage of life, right? That's the beginning stage of relationship development. That's the beginning stage of maternal and paternal instincts, right? Because it's already there. All human beings care, love, show sympathy, empathy. They have all those things. Caretakers take that away. So you're creating your own Frankenstein monster of a sort because you're taking away something that the human being is already conditioned to have within themselves. Right? Being a believer, every aspect of the human being are attributes of the Creator himself. Yeah. Think about all the attributes of God. Right? And then look at you. You have all those attributes. All of those attributes are taken away consciously and unconsciously because the caretaker has their own trauma, their own unresolved that they are imposing. Let me change that we are imposing upon our children, our own filters. Now take that stage of conditioning and let's move to the next stage. Right? Now I'm coming into the stage of going to school and I'm interacting with other children. Right? I'm not really sure as a male how to interact other than which I've been conditioned to be aggressive, acting unscathed of things that happen. Falls, don't cry. Wipe it up, bleed, put a Band-Aid on it. It's over. Shut up. Therefore, my communication is totally distorted because everything that I say, everything I do is grounded in aggression. Because you took that away from me. The ability to, to talk, to have fun, to laugh, and all these things. So, we begin to walk around with these stoic expressions on our faces because we got to look tough. We got to look tough for her. Yeah, for her. We have to look tough for her because that's what we're conditioned to believe that a girl, a female, a woman wants. A man who can protect her. Right? Because you think about it. When little girls went shopping, they took their little girl, they were playing with their toys and they went shopping. Did you see money? Did you see money? You saw a pocketbook. You saw a pocketbook. There was no money in that pocketbook. She went shopping with no money, but had a pocketbook. Did you see Ken with a wallet? Did Ken have a credit card? Did he have a money clip? When did you see money? When did you see any of those materialistic things? Now, we know a car popped into the scene later. Again, look at the conditioning. Because then they got the what they call it, the Barbie card for Barbie. In a long time, she rode around in that car by herself or with her girlfriends or with the baby. Because Ken didn't come on to the scene, like I said, until later. So then eventually, and I don't remember what order exactly it came into, but I'm just trying to give you an analogy of conditioning that happens unbeknownst to us in so many ways. Right? So then Ken finally got a ride. And then later on, you begin to see Ken driving the car himself. So he was given permission to drive Barbie's car. Yeah. He's given permission to drive Barbie's car. Barbie's car. And you're taking this into the school environment and you're playing, with girls and all that stuff. And you see, it's a lot of ways you can tell that the boy likes the girl because he does dummy stuff. He pushes her. He hits her. He yells at her. Right? All of the things that we see today in adulthood. We see these things in adults and we wonder where exactly they come from. But we don't look at the beginning. First thing we say is, oh, that's probably what his father did to his mother. We say things like that and we don't look at the conditioning that we're doing it ourselves too. And we don't see that, but we automatically come to some kind of consensus that the man is the one who is always the victimizer, the perpetrator of violence upon the female. That's part of conditioning that is already taking place, but it's not always case in point, and we know that. But a man is not going to report that he's being beaten on by his wife. It's just not. Oh my God, what? Dude, you what? You let your woman beat on you? But then there's the physical violence, and then there's the verbal abuse. There's the sexual abuse. There's all these things that happen to males that never get discussed because we're not conditioned to discuss them. We're conditioned to take it in. So now we have this concrete bunker as boys inside of us that is already packed with aggression. We don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to problem solve in an effective, win-win situation. For males, it's win-lose. Somebody's got to lose. So we do a little dummy stuff, to get the girl's attention. So now that we've gotten her attention, what do? We like her. What do we like about her? And it's usually the healthiest one, I'll use that term, healthiest one in the classroom who gets most of the attention from the boys. Because they have conceptualized through their upbringing that the boobs and the breasts and, those things are like important. Right? It's usually the healthiest one in the class who gets the attention. Even the BBWs got the attention. Yeah. They were the thickums. Right? They were teased by their counterparts. But they were loved by the little boys. Oh, yeah. That's juicy one. Yeah. She had boobs. She got a little butt. Yeah. She's thick. Right? Then society reconditioned that to these rail-thin women in media. Right? But the easier ones, the perceived easier ones, were the ones who boys would typically go after. And then after they got a taste from wherever they got that taste, right, it was on and popping. It didn't matter anymore. Didn't matter what she looked like, because we get that one and we do her in secret. Right? Wouldn't go out publicly with her, wouldn't talk to her in class. Right? But it was a feeling that we were pursuing. We weren't pursuing love. Because sex was not talked about. So love began here. Oh, I like him. I like her. He's funny. Yeah. He beats up all the other boys. He's a bully. But he'll protect me. Now we go from school, the K through 12, and we began doing more of adult-like things. Because remember, age is a factor here. Because 18 and 21 have been the numbers that have been thrown around. So manhood is predicated on those numbers. And the caretakers have absorbed that information and tell the children, when you're 18, you can get out of my house because then I don't have any responsibility to you on your own. So now I have that layer, plus I have the layer of what I have seen before this age in my home, in magazines, on TV. I've seen the porn, right? I've seen the Penthouse, Playboy, and all those other magazines, right? Because that's what I was seeing before Black magazines came onto the scene, because porn was and still is, a white dominated environment. So I was seeing, these magazines. And those are the magazines that I was looking at. Now, Jet was my favorite porn magazine because I'd always go to the centerfold. Now, remember, I didn't have a lot of this going on when I was playing with the dolls. This began to happen based on what was happening along the way, things that I was seeing along the way, things that I was hearing along the way. And then when I finally got a taste of it, the beast was released, and I began to, experience something down here. It wasn't here anymore. It wasn't here anymore. Well, the fantasy was here, but I wasn't thinking about love. I wasn't thinking about responsibility and commitment to this other person because I was conditioned, and little girls are also conditioned as well, right, to believe that sex was a significant part of having, excuse me, I should have just, of having a relationship. So it's all about sex, not love, not for the male. Not for the male. The male represented an image to the little girl. The male jumped up on the podium to be that image for the little girl, protecting her, bullying other little boys who may have tried to talk to her, play with her, anything like that. Right? He assumed that position. And that's how he was perceived by the little girl. So a little girl is conditioned to believe the strong one, the jock, the football quarterback, the basketball team captain, right? Because those were the ones that everybody was talking about. Those were the ones who were most admired. Those were the ones who were most adored. So if you just played on a team, well, Bobby's your team captain. You ain't got nothing on Bobby. Right? So the male, again, another layer of I need to be stronger. Not about the inside strength, the heart, the mind, none of that. As a little boy, I wanted to play with my cousins and them and them with their dolls and stuff like that. I wanted to do those things, right? I didn't want to hurt people. I didn't want to be a hurtful person. When I liked a girl, I liked a girl early. And I was in love early. That's the kind of guy I still am today. A loving and caring person. That doesn't mean that the layers of conditioning that I got within me coming up went anywhere. I wasn't trying to be hurtful to people. I was the intellectual amongst thugs, thieves, snakes, and killers. So it was something about that part of me that actually was attractive to a lot of people because I hung with some serious street dudes who were about that life. I never knew why they liked me. I'm just an intellectual. I wasn't about the murder, mayhem, and all that. I was about the hustle, So my first experience with somebody getting pregnant was like 1980, 1981. Right? And she got pregnant. And I can't even now tell you what I felt when she got pregnant. Because my conditioning was never, I'm sorry, y'all, my eyes just keep watering. It's a sensitive topic. I'm not crying. But now because this has happened, I can't cry and you wouldn't know. But I can't tell you what I felt at that time. I can't tell you what I felt at any time. But my first encounter was 1980, 81. So that would have made me 20, 21 years old. Right? And she was pregnant, and uh, she in her seventh month, she was out in the street fighting. She liked to fight. That's who she was. She was a fighter, you know. Um, and she the girl she was fighting, apparently tried to avoid the fight, and during the course of the fight, she got punched in the stomach a couple times, and she lost the baby at 7 months. Baby was stillborn. That would have been my first and only son. I'm not one of those males who, I gotta have a son, gotta have a son. But I'm just saying, I have all girls, right? I have all girls. But that would have been my first son. But that was my first experience with somebody being pregnant. And for the life of me, I can't tell you like that there was any warm fuzziness that happened, that there was any excitability about it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I had no idea whatsoever. And wasn't nobody telling me about that. And if I was basing my own childhood on that first pregnancy, right? That means that if the child would have been born, that I would have only given to that child what it is that I knew. And I knew absolutely nothing other than what I was getting from my own caretakers, my mother, mostly, and other family members, but I didn't know what to do. I mean, I could only have, I didn't go through a stage of it's not mine. Um, I don't want a baby. Why are you going to? I didn't go to any of that. She was my girl. That's my baby. Just images, they're just objects, not not human beings, because I understood nothing about humanity. I understood nothing about human conditioning. I understood nothing about hurt, uh, uh, being offensive, being defensive, being rude, obnoxious. I didn't know anything about any of those things. I knew nothing. So the only thing I could do is what I knew to do. But I can't remember feeling anything because everything was an object. She was an object. He was an object. I am an object. Everybody's an object. Everybody's an object. Then the next time I can recall a pregnancy, which was probably uh, probably a year or so after that, with someone else, and I didn't know she was pregnant. And she was out one day, and she came in, and she was in the room sitting on the bed, and I came upstairs or something, and she was sitting on the bed, and I asked her, well, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? And she just she wasn't really talking about nothing, and then she told me she had an abortion, and I was like, what? She said I had an abortion. It's like, well, I didn't even know you were pregnant. And at that point, having a little more knowledge, like, why didn't you talk to me, communicate that with me? Why didn't you have a conversation with me before you made that decision? Because that's just not your child, it's mine as well. But again, my thinking, my conversation wasn't coming from a place of I wanted I want a child. I want something to call my own. I want something that I can love, that I can give to that child that which wasn't given to me. Nah, again, it's still object. It's still ownership. That's my child. You didn't have the right to just do that and didn't talk to me. Never thinking for a minute. Listen, I wasn't always a good dude, right? So never once thinking that she couldn't fathom the thought of having a child with me because of the person I was at the time, who I'm still capable of being. Let's not get that twisted. That person doesn't go away. When you start maturing and shaking off the boy and you start learning some things, you become more aware of some things, right? But again, I'm in my 20s, my early 20s at this point. And then the next pregnancy came 84, right? So you see from 1980 to 84, right? I was making babies. Now, those are ones I know about, right? So in 84, let me get some clarity here. So the person I was living with, this person at the time who aborted her pregnancy. Meanwhile, I was seeing somebody who lived a few blocks away from her. We were doing business, and I started seeing her. Now, this person just had an abortion. Then I got somebody else pregnant a year or two later, because I eventually moved in with that person, and then they got pregnant while we were living together. And that was my first experience of fatherhood. That was my first experience of fatherhood, and I love my children. And I don't know why we have to say things like that, because it's evident to my children that I love them, and I feel some need to, validate that here for you. But it ain't that deep. But it's conversation. And my first child was born, and I was still, that street dude. But one of the things that I did do when the child was born, I started spending time with the child. I did my daughter's hair, changed her, fed her, did all those things. But I still did not have an emotional attachment in terms of I am a father, because I didn't have the conditioning of what father meant, other than that which I had seen between my parents. And my parents separated when I was 5. Then I had an uncle and aunt who raised me for some time, and I saw their relationship. And I learned some things, a lot of things from him, my Uncle Frank. I still see him, as my father figure. No disrespect to my father. May God bless him. No disrespect to him, but my Uncle Frank was the one who showed me some things about responsibility, and what he did for his family. And I don't have my glasses on, y'all, and I'm frowning. But it's one of those days today. I'm working on a music project. I was up last night doing that. I was up this morning on that. So forgive my appearance if I, look a little scruffy today. But this is live, baby. It's live. Then I had my grandparents, and I saw their relationship, and I saw his responsibility. I saw him up every morning. He was out of the house. My grandmother got up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, fixed him breakfast, coffee and whatnot. He rolled out, came home, right? I saw those things. I saw my Uncle Frank get up bright and early in the morning, out working. He had a full-time job, but he still did everything else too. He's still exterminating. By the time I was 9, 10 years old, he had me exterminating homes with him. So I saw some things, but still didn't understand fatherhood. I began to emulate that which I saw others do. had no conditioning, no understanding whatsoever. No dialogue was ever given to me by any of these males about fatherhood, being a father. So I just knew I had this person who I was responsible for. That's all I knew. I'm responsible, right? This little human being dependent depends on me. And I still didn't connect the dots with like having to keep a job, to get a job, right? To not do the hustling thing, because the hustling thing was going to put me and everybody else that I was responsible for in harm's way. I didn't have that understanding. I didn't get that understanding. I didn't get that understanding. And then the same person who I married, my wife at that time, she got pregnant again with our next child. And my life was in such a disarray that I went into the military because, my first part of trying to get my life right was to marry, right? Because again, I had some examples. The people I just named were examples of marriage. So there had to be some significance to marriage. And I just thought for a minute that marriage would be the key to me changing my life. It would be for the betterment of me. Still no understanding of the internal responsibility that I had to myself that was important in order for me to give to someone else. I was void of that. I was void of that. So now I have a second child. And again, still same pattern of behavior. While she was pregnant with that child, I was out cheating with somebody else. She got pregnant. So they were both pregnant at the same time. So when I tell people that I have three daughters and that the two of them have like the same age, right? People, you got no twins? No, no, they're not twins. And don't ask me nothing else after that. But the ugly part about this is this woman was a friend of my cousin's. And my cousin would come to the house and her friend would come with her. And unbeknownst to my wife at that time, did she know that that woman was carrying my child? She was giving her clothing that the first child could no longer wear. She was giving her clothing, wishing her well, and didn't know that that woman was carrying my child. I didn't know she was pregnant until I was away in the military. I was in basic training when my second child was born. I got the call. They let me go over, get on the phone, and they notified me, hey, you just congratulations, and I talked to her. But while I was there, I got a letter, telling me that this other young lady was pregnant as well. And again, there was no emotional response inside. There was an intellectual response. Okay, I have another child. It's great, it's fantastic. I'm going to be responsible, to that child as well. So, but again, through all of these births, I was still not emotionally connected because I didn't have that condition. I didn't have that experience. Nobody was telling me about these things. Everybody I saw was just doing things. There wasn't any understanding of fatherhood. A lot of information is available on motherhood. A lot of fatherhood classes, parenting classes teach about the responsible aspects, the physical aspects of fatherhood, but they're not teaching the things that are important for me to understand what I didn't get, so I can stop beating myself the hell up all the time as to why I failed in so many capacities. Because society told me I was a failure. The government told me I was a failure. The mother, told me I was a failure because I just didn't have an understanding. You're going to always fail at something until you have an understanding of the what, the why of a particular thing. And I never had those things. I never had those things. It wasn't until I took action, because I made a decision many times. I need to stop this hustle thing. I need to stop using. I need to stop doing all this stuff because it just had me, in a place. It was a very dark place. And then I finally came out of that place. And when I finally came out of that place, it was 1994, April 17th, 1994 to be exact. When I finally came out of that dark place and I began to look at me, look at all the decisions I made, look at all the things that I did to get in my own way. I'm not the dude who's going to sit down and say the white man did this, the white man did that to me that kept me from moving forward. I was always in my way. And most of the times I was always in my way because of what I did not get as a child. I wasn't getting hugs and kisses. I didn't have a male who was holding me and telling me how much he loved me and all those things. I wasn't getting that kind of connection. Right? That's not to say that I didn't have like my uncles. I had my Uncle John, my Uncle Frank, my Uncle Ray, people who aided me in being responsible. They aided me in being responsible. I did not have the love that I should have had. And it's no blame on anybody. I didn't have the love that I should have had that would have made me more capable of being emotionally available to my children. I didn't have the capacity. And again, I'm not crying, but my eyes keep watering. But I could cry, y'all wouldn't know it. I didn't have the capacity. And this is something that happens to males all the time. I saw a post the other day with a dude, kissing his son. He kissed his son in the lips and people lost their minds about it. And that was based on their own phobias. And I would kiss my son in the lips. I kiss him on the forehead and all that. But dude, don't this is people's own conditions, people's own phobias about things. But you're going to make him, come out this way. He's going to come out that way. Now he's going to stop. This is why we're so messed up now as little boys. Because we're always condemning males for showing their sons affection. And this is why we're so void of it. Therefore, our level of irresponsible actions with females is the way it is, because if we only have a woman that's showing us love and giving us hugs and doing all this, we want that. We want that. And we pursue that. So when you hear that that men are looking for mommies, it's not in that sense. It's in the sense of the maternal instinct, right? That we gravitate towards. We gravitate towards that. It's our nature. It's our nature to do that. when we don't have males who do that with us, we can't do it with other males. Therefore, we're actually islands because we're operating in a vacuum. Right? Me and dude, we cool and all that. Why are y'all cool? Why are y'all cool? I can tell you how many close friendships I had in my life. And on one hand, I wish today that I had bonded with a male in the way that I've seen so many others bond. Like I look at the relationship. I don't. What's that? Bel Air. There's a lot of scenes in Bel Air where Carlton and Will, had these conversations, and you see how Carlton is conditioned, and you see the relationship between him and his father, and you see all of that, and I mean, it's so many excerpts I can pull from that show alone about male conditioning. Remove the money. But it even shows you where having money, it still didn't matter. We don't get this as males. We don't get males, our fathers, to hold us, to hug us, to spend time with us, to talk to us about fatherhood. We don't get that. Girls get it from their mothers. And in so many instances, what they get from the mothers is you don't need a man. That's a whole nother show. Males don't get that. So the only thing that I knew to do, pay out. But I did their hair. Not all of them, because the child that was outside of the marriage, that relationship didn't happen in the same capacity. She didn't live with me. And there was years in between where I had even seen her and be able to interact with her and to spend time with her and to have her with me. But again, I still was emotionally unavailable. I didn't know how to be emotionally available. And in many instances, I didn't think I had the right to fight any decisions that were made because of my conditioning, because of how I saw myself. And again, it wasn't until I walked away from all of that where I began to see the harm that I caused myself. The harm that was caused to me through my traumatic experiences as a child. And then at some point during this process that I was in, I recognized, acknowledged, and admitted that I missed my father. Yeah. The day that happened, I was involved in the 12-step process, and I think I was doing like a 4th step, and I was on the L. I was on my way to work, and I was writing, and I started writing about my father. And out of nowhere, man, all these emotions surged up like a tsunami, and I just started crying profusely. I was still writing. I was dripping tears on the paper, and I was writing about how much I missed my father. Now, mind you, I didn't know my father. I knew who he was and all that stuff. I'm saying, but they separated when I was 5, and I saw him after a couple of times of seeing him. I didn't want to go see him no more. My mother never kept me from him. She never did that. She wasn't that kind of mother, right? She ain't had nothing to do with dude. But I didn't know him. So how could I miss him? 23 chromosomes are contributed by each parent. 23 from the father, 23 from the mother. Being absent doesn't change what exists within. I wasn't the kid who said, "Oh, well, he's here with his father at the graduation." He's with. I didn't think that way. I didn't have that kind of thinking because he wasn't there. But in this moment, this was the first time that I looked at my life and I experienced my father's absence. And it was in 1995 that I connected with my dad. And I start going to see him at at his job, but I was going there because not because I loved him, not because at that point I had any kind of emotional connection to him, but that I wanted money from him. So I would meet him on payday. Hey dad, what's up? I wanted money from him. He would, give me a couple of dollars. How you doing? Now mind you, I was working. But again, my conditioning is this is what fatherhood is about. And then one day I went there to meet him after work, and I stood there and I waited and I waited. I thought maybe he was just running a little behind. And then I saw another one of the workers come out. I said, "Hey, is such and such?" Said, "Nah, he been going. He left out at 3:00. Now mind you, it was like 4:30, 5:00. I'm standing there. Be careful what you ask for. I was just trying to establish this relationship on false pretenses. It wasn't because I loved him. It was because I had an expectation of him. And then eventually we reconnected again. And as I continued to do work on myself, I began to develop a relationship with my father. So whenever I got off work, I would stop by his crib, sit there, and we talk for a while, and so on and so forth. So I was no longer looking for him to be this father that I created within my mind, that I was conditioned to believe that a father was. I would just go there and just kick it, just have conversation with him. This was my father. At last, I had the epiphany. The bright light came on. This is your father. Just talk to him. Just talk to him. And every day, I look forward. I got off work, zip by to see dad. I don't know why I'm sweating here so much. Y'all forgive me. This is just not a good day. And I would just talk to him. And then we went on we attended the Million Man March together. And that was, man, that was the memory that I needed. See, God already knew what the plan was. He already knew how the story was going to end. And, so from 1995 to 2005, I had a relationship with my father. Yeah. Didn't want nothing from him. We would chill, sit down, break bread together. Me and my brother got together one time. Another memorable moment that'll be like last forever. We went and broke bread together, and we sat down, just three of us, man, and we just broke bread, and we had a good time laughing and joking. And then he was 2006. He was murdered September of no wait. He was murdered September of 2004 because it was just before I graduated from Lincoln University, my master's program, from the master's program, and it was so hard, man, when that happened. And I still after his death, I still continued to attend school, and I finished up school because I knew that's what he would want me to do. You see how the thinking has changed now? That's what he would have wanted for me. He would have wanted for me to keep on going because he always told me, how good that I was doing. He always said to me, "Man, I'm proud of you," and this, that. We never had the discussion about why you weren't there, this, that, and the other, because it didn't matter. Because at that point in life, I understood that relationships fail. I understood that people make decisions based on their conditioning. I understood that every relationship is not going to work. I understood that everybody has a reason for why they had to part ways from one another. And sometimes parting ways means totally cutting people off because of things that just happened between the two of you. I understood that. I understood that. I later began to understand the impact of my social absence, not my social, my emotional absence had upon all of my children, and more so the physical absence that I had from my daughter who was had outside of marriage. And I thank God today that her and I have a great relationship. We have a great relationship, but I wasn't always a good dude. I was ill conditioned, and I am not the only one. You know, I hear all of these negative things that happen between, parents, the ugliness of keeping the child away, fathers just staying away, mothers just staying away, the fights that happen, all this stuff like that. We all got stuff, man. We all got stuff. And every little girl didn't have the Barbie dolls and playhouse and have the Susie bake oven and all those kind of things to be conditioned, to have an understanding, a perception of their own of what family looked like, of what kind of man I want to have. Everybody didn't have that experience. Some girls never even had a baby doll to play with. They had stuffed animals, right? But then when you have a woman, another girl, another example in the house who, has experienced, ill conditioning and who has all these external things going into her ears and into her head about the male, right? Especially for black males and black women relationships, right? When you have those kind of things happening, right, it's no wonder that families are splintered as they are and continue to be because we have found no resolve within ourselves for what we have become. For what we have become. We don't understand one another because we don't take the time to sit down and talk about those things because we focus on the superficial aspects of self. Right? I'm good with telling you what I'm telling you. This is my freedom. This is not for you. This is my freedom. This is my freedom. My freedom is my responsibility. But I do want you to know that if you're out there and you've have had this experience that I have had, understand that it can get better. But that you have to take the steps that are necessary to improve. I'm not the only one who was running around squirting seed everywhere irresponsibly. I wasn't the only one who wasn't wearing a condom. I wasn't the only one when we got together who did put in place something to prevent a pregnancy. If it wasn't a sexual assault, it's a planned pregnancy because you know what comes from me when I squirt. I know what I'm squirting into, and it ain't just a hole. There's something else in there. There's life that can happen. We know that. It's no mystery. You have unprotected sex, you know that there's a possibility. And the solution that you come up with when you don't want it is abortion. Now, I'm not telling any woman what to do with her body, but don't beat the man the hell up because you think that he should change his hustle or whatever it is that he's doing because that's what you think that he should do because now you have this responsibility and you want him to take the responsibility. And that's all we know is responsibility from a financial and protective aspect. We don't know about the emotional responsibility. Most of us, we don't. We're having fun. We're feeling good because that's what this whole thing is about. It's about feeling good. How much were you, as the woman, thinking about in terms of a family, right? In terms of having a person who was going to be there, if you haven't even developed a relationship with him? It was an encounter in most cases. I often start off my classes with asking the fathers in the classroom, by a show of hands, how many of you even liked the mother of your child? Most of them don't raise their hands. Most of them don't raise their hands. When you're young and energetic and hormones and everything all over the place, and this God-given gift that we've been given, this tool that can reproduce, gets to tingling, it's like spider senses tingling. Spider-Man knew it was a crime or something close and danger. We get that tingle and, oh, something good is about to happen. Right? It wasn't about love. It wasn't about the emotional responsible aspects of this. It wasn't even about the physical responsible aspects that come with this. It was about feeling good. She dropped it like it was hot at the club. We hooked up, and this is what we did. And now I get the phone call. Now I want to be dumb. I want to be stupid. What you mean? Hey, mine. I just met you last night. What? Yeah, we come up with all these things. But you knew that was a possibility too. As a male, you knew that was a possibility that she was with somebody else. You thought you were the only gunslinger in the world? No. No, but then that's the first thing that we come up with, because I never did that. I never did that to any of the women who got pregnant by me. I never once said it's not mine. How you know it's mine? I never questioned. Some will say, well, that may be foolish. And you ain't seen my children. unless she was messing with somebody, a clone, couldn't deny it anyway. Even my most recent one, like, she just carried the child. But I never thought in that capacity. But there are a lot of pregnancies that happen because of an encounter, because you wanted something. You wanted to hit that. You wanted to let him smash it, whatever terms y'all are using today. But y'all wanted to have sex. And maybe the first 1 or 2 times, maybe even the third time, you may have used a condom, right? But after a while, you just wanted to feel it. He slipped it off, slipped it in, and you didn't say nothing. You kept on going. It didn't continue to happen that way. And again, unless it was a sexual assault, it was a planned pregnancy. You just didn't know when it was going to happen. Well, it's just like insurance. You get insurance, you don't have an accident for 5 years. You still paying insurance for 5 years just in case. Right? But you started having sex with him. You knew the lifestyle he lived. But now you want to beat him upside the head about that lifestyle, but you didn't do that when you were having sex with him, unprotected. You didn't beat him upside the head then. If I hustle, and that's how I put food on the table, that's how I pay bills, that's how I take care of you, what makes you think that I'm going to stop doing that? Because you have a child by me. That's my lifestyle. That's how I've been taking care of you and me. Oh, well, it's time to stop all that because, you got a child now. But you should have thought about that. You should have thought about that. You should have thought about that. That's your responsibility as well. And most of the times, children are kept away from the fathers because the father has moved on. He's still doing what he do. If this is about parenthood, keep focused. Keep focused. What can you teach me as a mother about being a better father? What can I, as a father, teach you about being a better mother? What can we teach each other about one another, period? You don't know me. I don't know you. We've been dating. We married and still don't know each other because we don't talk about certain things because we're too busy concealing who we really are. Because we know that relationship is probably not going to last because that's what we condition ourselves to believe. So you already planning the exit strategy based on the negative things that you yourself had turned a blind eye to when this relationship started. But you wanted what you wanted. Now you want to cry foul. He wasn't the dude then. He ain't the dude now. He didn't have the capacity to be a father then. And you want him to have the capacity now? And you think keeping his child from him is going to change that? What about the child? What about the child? Crickets. If this is about the child, make it about the child. Keep the door open. When he shows up and he's ready, the door should be open, and vice versa if it's the mother. Don't give me this crap about what they use drugs, they do this, they do that, and I'm not. Well, invite them in. Hey, come on over. I'm not really comfortable. Hey, listen, be honest about it. I'm not comfortable with the child going, over to your spot, right? Because I know how you roll. That's cool. Have the door open so I can come there. Have the door open so we can connect and we can go someplace outside of the home. If it ain't, cool for me to come there, because you might have somebody there and they ain't good with that. That's not good either. Because if me and you ain't together, right, and we have a child together and I live with somebody, that somebody has hands on your child. I have the same responsibility as that as a so-called stepfather that I have to my own children. I have the same responsibility. I got to protect yours. I got to take care of yours. I got to educate yours. But you don't want me in the crib. You don't want me in the crib. But I can take the child to my house? I don't get it. I don't get it. That's just immaturity. Right? Hey, listen, we got a space downstairs. Y'all can go ahead and get together. We've had that. Yeah, that's cool. Go down there, TV down there, stuff like that. Y'all can, Now we ain't gonna make this no, Three's Company kind of thing. But sometimes, you have to make those decisions which are the best interests of the child. What you keep saying that. And the funny thing is the courts say the same thing. Child services say the same damn thing. Everything is in the best interest of the child. What child are y'all referring to? What child are you referring to? Because I don't see any evidence of any of that anywhere that says in the best interest of the child. How do you sit there listening to two hurt people and come to the conclusion that the best interest of the child lays with the mother? 99.9% of the time. You know why? Because our system is developed with scientists, psychologists, researchers, and they already know how to dismantle the family. They already know that. They already know that. All these laws and things that come into place, somebody didn't just think of this. Research was put into this. People who understand human behavior, people who understand the human brain, people who understand human development, people who understand these things. This is how all this stuff was put into place. This is how these things were put into place. So although the black family, the brown family are the ones who are severely impacted negatively by these systems, All families are impacted by this system. All families. It's funny this song comes on. Young. If you ever never checked out the song, check out my song Young. It's about me at 13 years old having sex with an adult. Yeah. Yeah. And how that, again, something else that impacted my relationships with females, with girls, with women, right? But you have to look at everything is put in place to take away what you think is control upon your own children. Just think of what the world would be like if the books that you find in schools today were in schools in the 40s, 50s, 60s. Think about it. What this world would be like today. This world didn't come like this by happenstance. It's by design. We've allowed everything outside of us to guide and direct our children. We have failed to take responsibility in raising our males to be loved, to be loving and caring, to have that emotional connection within themselves with the world around it, round him, right? We have taken that away. We need to give it back. We need to give it back to our males. Males need to give it back. If you have matured, you have come to understanding something more about fatherhood, give it to the little ones. Give it to the teenagers. Give it to them. We always protect girls. You go out there getting pregnant by no good for nothing Negro. Don't you go out there having sex and then get pregnant. I'm not taking care of no child. I'm raising you. I'm not raising your child too. What messages do boys get? Don't you go out there knocking up none of these little floozies out there, them little rugrats and little chicken heads. Don't you go out there get none of them pregnant. Sexy 13, I got an attaboy. Yeah, that's what we get. Where's the responsibility in that thinking? I'm glad I have matured. I'm glad I have gotten a connection with my emotions and learned how to manage my emotions, learn how to not suppress hurt, pain, and those other things that I am subjected to as a male. That I enjoy crying. I enjoy, the lesson in getting my heart broken and growing from it. Yeah. I enjoy being with good brothers, regardless of race, religion, any of those things. Right? I enjoy that. I enjoy having conversation with males, positive males, males who want to do something, to be better today than they were yesterday. Brothers who are going somewhere. And again, I don't care about your damn race. Fatherhood is not isolated to race or religion. We have to do better with our boys. Love them. Hold them. I didn't get that. If I ever had a boy, listen. I got a 1-year-old now, so I don't know what his plans are. But if I ever had a boy that I had to have the responsibility for, if I ever, came into a situation where I'd have to mentor, guide a little boy, I would definitely give him hugs. then you'd have to deal with the parent. But anyway, I'm just talking about what I would give the parents. Say, hey, hey. I would still have loving conversations with that little boy. We don't teach that to our children. We teach our own pain and suffering, and we bash the other parent, and we condition them to feel that hurt and pain that we've endured, and try to, live. We try to live our lives through them and have them think and do like us, and then they become just like us, and then we just like, oh, it's just so much disdain for who they have become because they're just like their father, they're just like their mother, they're just like me. This show is going a little bit over. Sorry, but it was a good show. You know, I hope that you know you see with a little more clarity um, what we're faced with in our society. We have to change the conditioning of our boys. We have to begin to understand one's pathway to fatherhood and motherhood. We have to. We're getting a lot of bad information from others. This is important. And this is what Daddy's Right Here represents. Not the superficial stuff. The psychological ramifications, right, of unintended pregnancies is far greater than you could ever conceptualize. A lot of things happen when you get pregnant, miss, to the male as well. It's not just about you. This is about parenthood. This is not about girlfriend, boyfriend. This is not about husband, wife. This is about parenthood. You are going to be a mother. You are going to be a father. What does that mean? Educate both of yourselves and stop just coming from your own frame of reference. You can go on social media, but you can't do research on how I can be a good mother, a good father. What does that look like? You don't know anybody who you can go talk to and ask them. As always, thank you all for tuning in. You can be doing anything else on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, right? They're listening to me. I appreciate you all. Hey, let's go save our boys, right? Save our boys, man. Everybody needs to take responsibility for their role. You had unprotected sex. Live with it. Let the children live. Peace. Follow you around like a puppy on the string. My curfew comes in a telephone rings. Reminiscing in my bed alone with myself in my hand. I'm hard as a bone. Just a young kid. All up in his feelings. All for what? A sexual healing. All in my head day and night. When darkness falls, fantasy takes flight. Chasing a feeling. Need the release, touching girls my age, feeling the crease. Most of those girls weren't even ready to let it bed at night, holding my titty. Love, your boy. Body invasion. Now you taught me when you want me. Yeah, I will get it to let you flaunt me. Virgin, pristine conversion. Go Eagles. Conversion, sex acts, conversion. Now I'm feeling like I have no choice. Get her out of my head. boys. I'm chasing tail, running the streets. I want love no more. I'm a heartbeat. Sit to learn me, toss and turn me. You want sex, cause you're lonely. No clue what to do. Both of us together don't make two. This ain't fiction, a sex addiction. Pain and fiction is the mission. Unbeknownst to the doer, the outcome is dramatic skewer. So confusing, but amusing. While I'm using, also refusing. Not just delay, so you say, don't value me, my heart's in play. Find the balance between love and sex. Mind the fuddle like I'm under an X. She reinforced inside of me. Between the stars is where you wanna be. 13 virgin Christine. Man, this was a hot topic today, man. I'm saturated under my arm, Joe. I apologize, man. This was, yeah, it was. Sheesh. Hey, listen. We can do better, and we know we can. Let's just do better with our boys, man. Let's do better as parents, right? Look at your shortcomings, right? Look at what your deficits are, right? Yeah, because that's the only way this is going to get better. This is about the child. It's not about you and me and this failed relationship that we have as boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever we want to call ourselves. We're still parents. Conversion, 13 virgin, Christine conversion. Your response to an unplanned pregnancy is of the utmost importance. Again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. Hey, make sure you check out my soon-to-be-released song, Bottom Feeders. Peace.